we have Joe?
I think he could do this easily.
We
We
have
got
Joe.
the Hall of Famer. Joe Thomas is with us.
Woo! What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Joe. How did that feel when you got the knock on the door?
First of all, congratulations to Tyvis that his hips still work. Unfortunately, his golf game is broken. The knock was amazing. It was so special to me because Walter Jones was the guy that they picked to do the knock, and he was like my idol as a kid. And he was the person that I modeled my game after when I was in college and then early on in the NFL. And so he was at the door. But the best part was that my kids went to the door thinking that their friends were at the door because it was right after school on a Friday. And they saw Walter Jones taking up both door frames with a giant gold jacket on. And then they ran into the kitchen to tell me the news. And my son says, "Daddy, we made it. We made it, Daddy." And like for a second, I was like, we made what? Like I was so confused and caught off guard because it happened like 17 days before the Super Bowl. And I assumed it was going to happen probably, a couple days before the NFL Honors, which is the night that they announced the class. Yeah. So being caught off guard, having Walter Jones basically tell my kids and then having my son tell me that we made it was like the best possible script I could have never have written.
Can you confirm or deny that you were in your underwear when the knock on the door came?
Well, thanks to my lovely wife, she made me put pants on because the ruse from her end, because she was the only one that knew, was, all right, we're going to go to dinner with the neighbors tonight, which is Friday night. We like to hang out with the neighbors. We like to have a good time. So I was like, okay, great. So I was just like kind of hanging around the house in my underwear, getting ready like most men do, waiting till like 2 minutes before we're supposed to leave, and I would go get changed and we could go leave because the last thing I want to do is spill something on the outfit that we're going to wear. So it's easier to just wear underwear, right? And she's like, just go upstairs and put some pants on, please. And I was like, we got like 15 minutes. I got plenty of time. We don't have to do that. We can talk right now because she wanted to get the kids into the kitchen because we're taking a family trip this summer. So we were going to talk about the family trip just to get away from the door. And so I was like, we got plenty of time. She's like, just put your pants on. Jeez, Louise, just go do it right now. And, being a good husband, I was like, all right, whatever. Jeez, lay off, lady. We're going to go to dinner with our friends. It's Friday night. Why are you so mad? And so I went upstairs and I did put pants on, thankfully, before the knock happened.
Joe, was it at any moment did you think that you weren't getting in? Because I know I got a couple friends who, they are a little doubt about whether or not they getting in. You had this amazing playing career, playing left tackle for the Browns. Was there any doubt about you becoming a Hall of Famer?
I felt like my resume was pretty strong going into it because like anybody that becomes a semifinalist and then the finalist in the Hall of Fame, you look at all those other guys that you're essentially competing with for those 5 spots. And you say, all right, how am I doing compared to other players from my position that are in the Hall of Fame? And then how do I stack up against these guys, right? If it's, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady in your class, you're going, I don't know who's going to be that 5th guy, but I got some stiff competition. Now, I think our class is fantastic, but the fact that there was no other like surefire first ballot quarterbacks in our class saved a little bit of extra room, and I ended up being the only offensive player. So I felt pretty good about things, but you still get a little bit nervous once they announce the finalists because you just have no idea how the voters are going to sway.
Yeah, I don't think any of us had any doubt whatsoever that you were going. That you and Revis were the 2 guys that were felt like sure things. Joe, I got to say, first of all, and I put, you've always been beyond a football player, and not that you and I have ever hung out, but I've interviewed you a number of times over the years, and you've always been so nice, so friendly. There's a lot of superstars in sports that will maybe only talk to ESPN or national media. You've always been kind. You've always been friendly. You've always been willing to do an interview, and you're a Hall of Fame guy as far as I know, and I just wanted to say congratulations personally because a lot of stars don't take the time to talk to local media and be cool like that, and you've always been fantastic above and beyond, so thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, Bull. I've always tried to make my priority when I'm dealing with media and I have opportunities to, tell my story or talk about what happened on the field, to prioritize the local media, right? Because they're the voice of your fans. They're the voice of Browns fans throughout the country. And I felt it was always really important to try to build that relationship because, as you guys know, you guys have a job to do to cover these players, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy this job that we're doing together, me as a player, you guys in the media, and have a good working relationship where we enjoy our time together. It doesn't always have to be acrimonious between the media and the players, because in the end, those guys are your conduits to all the fans that are out there that are so diehard about what you do and what the team does.
He just gets it.
You know,
that video, sorry,
go ahead.
G, but there was, I can't remember now if it was the Browns that put out the video, but there was a video where you had your family in there and your nieces and nephews and Batonio's on there and Mac's on there and all these people. And I got choked up watching it. You must have been, I mean, I can't remember who put that video out, but it was great. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was the Browns. They did a
Okay.
great job.
Excellent.
Once the Hall of Fame was official, and this was before I knew about it. I don't know who told them. I have no idea. That still remains to be seen, but they found out about it. And so then they reached out to a bunch of players and family members and friends of mine to have like that little video to be able to put it together. And they gave me about a 6-minute cut up of it to watch when they were at my house on Monday before honors. And I was just a ball of tears. And it was so emotional seeing all those people take their time to talk about what our friendships and our relationships meant to them. And that was so cool. And one thing I'm really excited about is there's a longer version that the Browns have put out. I think it's, 30 some minutes, that because of the craziness of the last week, I haven't had a chance to watch it all yet. But my wife and I said, we're going to our farm this weekend. So I was like, Friday night, we're going to put the kids to bed. We're going to pop a couple beers and we're going to watch that entire thing. And we're going to make sure we got 2 boxes of Kleenexes because we're going to need it.
Joe, man, sometimes, people don't get the gravity of what they're doing until, it's too late and you can't give them their flowers. I was a kid who grew up in Canton, and I could see the Pro Football Hall of Fame from my, bedroom window, right? And so, when the Browns left in 95, I became a freshman in 96. So I played my whole career in high school not having a team to root for. So I didn't even watch, professional football, right? So I watched college and different things like that. And when you guys came back in 99, since getting the team, we all know how bad the Browns have been. And I used to sit there and go to my aunt used to buy tickets to the Hall of Fame, and we used to always go to the Hall of Fame induction. And I used to always sit there and wait for, me being a dumb person. I would wait for, I thought, that every team got a shot at it. I didn't know that you had to be good and then go. And I would watch the Steelers come, and they would have Steelers there every year. They would have all these other teams and the 49ers, and I would be like, man, when the Browns going to be on there? And when I finally grew up and didn't understand, wow, you actually got to do something and put in work and be one of the greatest of all time. And to not have that, watching the team and for the team not to go to the Super Bowl, man, when you made the Hall of Fame, that's like everybody's Super Bowl. You do realize that. That's a lot. We ain't seen a Super Bowl. I talk to Jay all the time, man, about what them colors might look like on a Sunday or that week before, how we be talking. But for one day, we at least get to see somebody we watched in that uniform with them colors actually, represent all of us. So, I'm super proud of you, and I want to thank you for representing the Browns to the fullest. We ain't got a championship or no trophies, but for that day when you get inducted, you're going to have a trophy for everybody. You carrying a whole lot of people with you. So I just want to say that to you and salute you for that, man.
I appreciate that, G. Certainly, it's been amazing hearing other Browns fans tell similar stories and talk the exact same way. Hey, since we came back, we haven't had a lot to cheer for, but this moment, this opportunity to cheer for one of our own who's going into the Hall of Fame now, it makes us so proud. And for me, the happiest I've been in the last 2 weeks was when fans have come up to me and said, you have made us proud to be Browns fans. And that's all I've ever wanted to do in life. When I was a kid, I just wanted to make, your parents proud. And then in JV football, you just want to make your coach proud of you. And then in the NFL, I just wanted to make Browns fans proud. And now as a dad, I just want to make my kids proud. Wow. And so to have people stop me and say, we haven't had a lot to cheer for, but you've made me proud. As a person that has a hard time sometimes talking about himself, that has made me glow with happiness.
Have you decided who's going to be your presenter?
McNuggets.
Yeah, besides McNuggets, if he's not too busy that day. Yeah.
I'm free in August, Joe. You just tell me
Please agree.
Joe, I just killed the stand-up routine for the first time. I'm sure I could kill my first Hall of Fame induction speech.
Oh, man. You're at the top of the list, if not 1A, 1B. Yeah, it's funny. That was one of the things that I haven't really spent enough time thinking about yet. That was like on the to-do list this past weekend was talk to other Hall of Famers and ask them how they decided on their presenter. And then I just got caught at the bottom of too many beers.
Yeah. Joe, I've got the answer.
Happens to me all the time,
I've got
Joe.
the answer of who should induct Joe. We should get all 500 quarterbacks you blocked for to all do one line.
Wow, that would be the greatest of all time if you had. Listen, you had to get Bruce Gradkowski, and then you get McCown.
Seneca Wallace.
You still couldn't find Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think
Would he
you
come
find
as
Joe.
Billy
Joe comes
Manziel
on.
or Johnny? That'd be the question.
Joe,
In costume with the Groucho glasses or his body.
We have to play auto mechanic or Browns quarterback with Joe the next time.
Yeah,
we
that's true.
We're gonna dig that game up, Joe. We'll play.
Oh,
it
that was a fun
But,
game.
you know, I tell you, what takes this to another level of a Browns player for the first time in forever getting in the Hall of Fame is the fact, Joe, that you played your whole career here. And obviously you had chances to leave. We all know the story about the Broncos wanting to trade for you. I'm sure there were a million teams that wanted to trade for you over the years, but you never wanted to go. You could have gone. You won a Super Bowl with Denver, but it meant more to you to stay here. In the end, any regrets at all? Or is it like, because I think it's special that you played your whole career here because you don't see that a lot in Cleveland in any sports. So I think it means even more that you stayed here the whole time. But any regrets on that at all or no?
No regrets, because my goal when I got to Cleveland, more than anything, my highest priority was to turn this team back around and win a Super Bowl. Like, I knew the history of the franchise. My dad's side of the family is all from the Toledo area, so we used to come back here for family reunions. So I knew all about the history of this organization and how many championships they won back in the day. And so when I got drafted, I was like, I want to take this team where it is right now, which is in not a great spot, and I want to turn them around and turn them into Super Bowl champions. Like, that would be the greatest story that the NFL has ever told. And I want to be a part of that story. And I've always thought that the greatest satisfaction in life is building something from nothing, from ground up. And to be there when the hard work and the blood and the sweat and the tears are shed. And I've always thought that guys, and maybe they will never admit it, but I got to believe that deep inside, the guys that, get traded to a team in the middle of the season or, get picked up late in the season, or maybe aren't even on the roster because they're on the practice squad and then they don't even play. Like, it's a little bit of a hollow feeling to win a championship, but I think the true joy and the true happiness of wearing that Super Bowl ring is when it was like, this is cool. This is a symbol, though, of the journey and the hard work and the process and the memories that got us to win a Super Bowl, not necessarily just winning that game.
That's a great point. It was funny that you bring that up because it reminds me, I don't know if you saw this, Joe, I don't know if any of you guys saw this, but I forgot Melvin Gordon was on the Chiefs this year at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I forgot he was there because he didn't play at all. And after the game, somebody was interviewing him. It was like some British or Australian station, I don't remember. And they were like, how does it feel to win a Super Bowl? And he was like, well, I didn't do anything. So yeah, I get. I get your point. It's like, yeah, it wouldn't have been the same. Like, had you won here, it would have been super special. Unfortunately, they never put enough talent around you. I'm curious, Joe. Like, right now, we were just talking about this. The Browns have 3 players that could potentially be Hall of Famers: Joe Bitonio, Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett. Like, obviously, they got to play longer, especially Myles and Nick. But those guys are all potential Hall of Famers. Do you agree with that? And you got 3 potential Hall of Famers. We got to win, right?
I agree, man. The team's got talent. We got to start
Yeah.
winning, and I'm expecting it to be next year. I know this year was kind of crazy with the quarterback suspension situation and all the things that revolved around what happened, but I'm really excited about the addition of Jim Schwartz. I think he's going to get that defense figured out. But it was cool. I got to spend a bunch of time Friday night with Alex Mack and Joel Bitonio. We just kind of all ran into each other naturally in the hotel on Friday night, and we said, hey, man, we got to go get some cigars and have some beers and talk about our time in Cleveland. And so we found like an empty outdoor patio, and we spent about 2 hours together talking about that stuff. And I was talking to Joel about, how long do you want to play? And, dude, like I was trying to tell him without being like putting pressure on him, but like you're very close to having a Hall of Fame resume right now. As much as I'm enjoying this moment, like if you or Alex, because Alex has got a good resume, but he's probably somebody that will have to wait and find out, because I think he's got like 7-ish Pro Bowls, like 5 or so All Pros. But like with Joel, I'm like, dude, you play a few more years, you absolutely have a Hall of Fame resume, and the joy that I would have being able to come back and celebrate you as a Hall of Famer would far exceed anything that I'm experiencing right now with my own induction.
Man, that says a lot about you.
And Joel, by the way, has picked up the torch of being one of the best guys to talk to the media.
Yeah.
He's awesome as well. He's always great to talk to.
Treats the media great.
Yeah.
I was wondering why at the ceremony on Thursday you were actually introduced by Tim Brown, who has no connection to the Browns other than his last name, and everybody else was introduced by someone, a Hall of Famer from that organization. And then I got to thinking, well, how many living Hall of Famers are there? And I know that Ozzie and obviously Jim Brown, who was in the building. I'm wondering how it worked out that Tim Brown actually was the guy that introduced you. Do you know how that happened?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the number to the guy that does honors, because I was wondering that same thing, because we were standing all backstage. There's like the 5 of us, and then there's the older inductees. I feel bad. I don't know what the official title of the
Senior.
Legends inductees. The senior. There you go. The senior inductees. So we're there with like Joe Klecko, and then the families of Don Coryell and some of the other guys. And the person that's like running the show is talking to us about, okay, somebody's going to announce you, and then you're going to walk across the stage, and everyone wants to know like who's announcing who. And they're like, oh, it's a surprise. We have somebody special for everyone. And I'm like, oh man, who's it going to be? And I'm trying to rack my brain like, okay, could it be Browns players? Could it be offense? If it's not a Browns player, which I didn't really know who it would be, maybe like you said, maybe Ozzie would be somebody that would do that, but I didn't see him there, so I'm like, maybe it's probably not him. So then I'm thinking, well, maybe it was an offensive lineman. That would make sense. And then I walk out and it was Tim Brown, and I was like, okay, I mean,
what are you doing here?
There's zero connection. Like, I didn't even grow up cheering for you. I mean, I grew up a Packer fan, so maybe like have Leroy Butler. I know he's here. Maybe he can introduce me. That was an interesting choice. I think that maybe they just ran out of people and were like, all right, who wants to do it? And he was the last one to raise his hand.
Well, I know Jim Brown was there. The camera showed him a couple of times, and we talked about this on the show. He didn't look well, and my guess was maybe it was the NFL's intention to have Jim do it, and maybe at the last minute he didn't. I don't know if you saw him or talked to him at all, but we're concerned about his health, obviously, because I saw him just a short time ago, and he looked great, and I was somewhat taken aback at his appearance.
Yeah, at the Super Bowl, we were in the Browns suite with Jim Brown and his family, and I think it would have been a tough situation for him to do that announcement. So that definitely could be possible.
Yeah. Joe, now that you're a Hall of Famer, your people, these kids nowadays will start to listen to your words. What advice do you have? What advice do you have to like the high school left tackle or kid that want to play, offensive line in the NFL? Because we got kids that maybe watch this show. We got parents that watch this show. What's some advice that they can tell their kids that's playing football?
Yeah, I like to tell people if it's important enough for you, you'll find a way to get it done. And that kind of goes for a lot of things in life. And then there's one thing I like to say that I think was stolen from Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick and probably Bear Bryant before him and Vince Lombardi before him. And I think it's one of those sayings that has gone through the ages as a football coach-ism. But there's 3 things that you can do that can separate yourself from your teammates and give you success in football or in life. And that is be on time, pay attention, and work hard. And if you just keep the focus on those things, you can have success in no matter what you decide to do in life.
Good advice.
I like that.
Great.
Hey, Phil Taylor's coming in the studio at 12:30.
That's a large
and
human being.
It is a large human being. So I want. Do you have a good Phil Taylor embarrassment story that we can use that he has no idea that anyone else knows about? Anything that we can use to, sort of just break the ice with
I'm
him?
trying to think if there's a story nobody knows. I don't know about that, but I do know that me and Hawk on our podcast, The Tomahawk Show, we talked about a fight that we had during practice with Phil Taylor where he ripped Garrett Gilkey's helmet off and beat him over his head with it. And we were talking about it because there was a fight with Aaron Donald, if you remember, during training camp where he was like hitting people with helmets. Yeah. And I remember Phil very vehemently denied that he ever hit anybody on the head with a helmet, even though we watched it on the practice tape.
Well, that's the story we're going to get him with.
He's still trying to deny it. So you got to ask him. You got to put him on the spot about
that. That is absolutely the story we're going to hit him with.
Hey,
sure.
Joe, I'm curious. Like, we've talked to you about Jedrick Wills before. Obviously, his play's been inconsistent. Do you worry? I mean, I don't even know if you want to say this but I worry that maybe following you at that position or any Hall of Famer, that's tough. Like, Browns fans, the one thing they're used to getting is great play at left tackle. They may not be used to getting great play many other places, but they're used to having a left tackle that we never worried about. And Jedrick's play is a little more up and down, and I think maybe part of us subconsciously just expect him to be great because you were great, and that's not fair to him. So how do you think he's handling that, and do you still have hope for him being a long-term answer at the position?
Yeah, I'm not sure how he's handling the criticism because certainly it's out there. Obviously, anybody that pays attention to the media or social media and understands that he's got his detractors, and I think a lot of them have reasonable cases because the play has been inconsistent. And the frustrating thing for Browns fans and certainly the team is that you watch him and for stretches of like several games, he'll put together really good performances, and then he has like some really big brain farts. And then he lacks effort in those moments where he feels like he doesn't know exactly what he's supposed to do. So then it just compounds it and makes it worse. So like, all right, I get it. You didn't know exactly what you're supposed to do on this play. And then you decided to just stand there instead of go hit somebody. Like if you don't know what to do, just go hit somebody. Then you're never going to be wrong. But when you stand there and you get nervous and you kind of go into that shell, it makes it worse. And then I think in the era that we live in right now with social media, people can pull up like clips, right? And put them together and make somebody look either really good or really bad. And so on the whole, I think Jed is a top half of the NFL offensive tackle from a performance standpoint. If you watch some of the frustrating moments and you make a highlight clip of him, it can make it seem like he's performing worse than he really is. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what happens this next season because he has definitely shown he has the ability, and at times he can put together long stretches of consistency. But to become one of the highest paid guys in the NFL, which certainly when you become a free agent and you're at a premier position like offensive tackle or pass rusher or quarterback, and you're in the prime of your career and you're proving that you're one of the best 10 or 15 guys at that position, like you become, because the salary cap is always rising, one of the highest paid players at your position. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens because unless the play continues to improve consistently, it'll be a lot of back and forth about like, can you pay a guy at the top of the market that's not consistently great?
Joe, let me ask you a food question here. I know you love food, even though you've gotten skinny now. We've talked about this.
Begrudgingly.
If you could only, you can't use the oven, you can only use the grill, and you could only have chicken, beef, fish, or pork the rest of your life. You got to take one of the four, only using the grill. What are you choosing?
Am I allowed to sous vide and then grill, or does it have to be just straight grill?
No, you can have the extras. Yes, you can have the extras.
You just can't smoke is what you're saying.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pork. I would say pork because there's just more parts that you can do different things with. And you can make more people in the family happy. You know, like my kids, they like beef, but they only like certain cuts. But with and chicken, like sometimes they just won't eat chicken for whatever reason. But like with pork, you can take any part of that pig and you can cook it on the grill. You can do it a bunch of different ways, and it can be tacos, it can be quesadillas. I do these things called taco bombs for the kids that they absolutely love. I do like a shredded pork shoulder, so you could sous vide it and then finish it on the grill and then shred it. And then you take a nonstick pan, you put some shredded cheese in until that starts melting. Then you take a tortilla and you basically like fuse it together, and then you flip it over, and then you put that that shredded pork right in the top, and then you put whatever sauce they like. So they love Chick-fil-A
I'm
sauce.
starving now.
So how are you not
So you put a little
hosting?
Chick-fil-A sauce in there, and then you roll it together so it's like a little mini burrito, and then you put the steam down for like 15 or 20 seconds on the hot pan, and it kind of seals it all together, so it's like this little mini burrito. Then you can cut it like diagonally, and it makes it almost like those,
We gotta get Joe and Adam Richmond together.
How are you not hosting a cooking show?
so
Is my
delicious. I'm
question.
getting hungry here.
When
Oh man, I should be. I
When me
love
and
to
Bull
eat,
do
man.
a
I love
cooking
to
show,
cook.
we pulling up on Joe Thomas.
We gotta get Joe.
And we gonna pull
baby.
right up there. We gonna have him get us these little burritos or whatever they call it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
eat all
baby,
of them.
little taco bombs. I love them. And, you know, speaking of pork, like if you take the baby back ribs, you can cook them like a chicken wing almost. Like the little rib endings, you can actually do like all the seasonings and make it just like a chicken wing. So I think pork gives you more versatility and more variety. So if you only get one, you go with that.
That's a great
Making
call.
me hungry.
I agree.
McNuggets is dying to get a question in. Go ahead, Mikey.
Joe, my man, congrats.
By the way,
Joe
pork
Open.
tenderloin
So
plays
that's
like
awkward,
that,
Mike.
but it's
They
better
can't-
and cheaper.
I can't write the story of McNuggets without Joe Thomas, and I think when Joe goes to the Hall of Fame, I'm not sure if we can write the Joe Thomas story without McNuggets either. So this is a very special moment for two best friends here.
What is wrong with him, man?
Okay, my real question though, Joe. I don't know if anyone's asked you this or if you've given any thought to it, but every player inducted gets their Hall of Fame bust. And I would like to suggest to you, this is less of a question, more of a suggestion. You should be crushing a Great Lakes beer in your bust.
Ooh, I don't know if we have hands in our bust, so it might be like an air drip. Somebody's pouring it into our mouth, which might look a little bit funny. But I will say that one of the questions I was a little bit caught off guard with when we did meet with the sculptor over the weekend was, do you want to be like Fat You or do you want to be like you right now? And I didn't realize we got a chance to think about it, but I did tell him, I'm like, the guy that's in the Hall of Fame is the chubby kid that showed up from Wisconsin at 315 pounds and played in the NFL. Like this less chubby version of myself should not have a bust in the NFL Hall of Fame because I can barely jog down the street.
Who asked that, and how could you not be offended by that?
Yeah, you
It was
weren't
the
fat.
sculptor. It was the
The
sculptor.
sculptor? Did he really say, do you want to be the fat Joe or the skinny Joe?
Well, he didn't exactly use those words, but I knew what he meant.
Joe, how did you slim down after playing? I need to know. I'm going the other way.
Yeah, so exercise, that helps.
But I mean, I do.
Okay, all right. On a serious note, I reduced the carb intake because I was just so ridiculous in the other direction. I mean, I was eating like a quart of ice cream and a sleeve of Girl Scout cookies every
Well,
night.
I'm not doing that.
So don't do that. Don't do that. I had a little intermittent fasting and then just picking and choosing, right? Like pick and choose your moments. Like this past weekend, I think they say ad libitum. Just eat whatever you want, whatever you feel like. But then, you got to tighten it back up when you're at home and you're not in those social settings.
There you go.
Well,
great
Jay
advice.
Jay Crawford just had an ultimate feast at his place.
But you know what? I use Joe's. That's exactly what I do. I
just told y'all what it was.
I don't have a cheat day a week. But I know where they are. I know, like, I'm hosting a Super Bowl party. Hell yeah, I'm gonna eat like a fool.
Yeah,
but now I'm back to the hard exercise.
Celery.
And,
What about G?
and eat
Celery and
celery
peanut
sticks,
butter.
and I eat healthy.
G, what about you?
I've been drinking more water. That's what I've been getting my fluids up, Joe. It's all about hydration first. Then you go into it, and then I've been
You
doing.
flushing it out is what you said.
Yeah, I've been walking upstairs more, and just.
So you're not heavy. You're just bloated.
Yeah, it's flushing right now. I'm flushing right now. It's just a healthy mind state right to
It's a
first,
mindset.
right?
Yeah, you got to get there mentally before you get there physically. Joe, congratulations.
Thanks, Joe.
There
You're the
isn't
best.
anybody that deserves this more than you
Can't
do.
wait. Can't wait.
We will
Cam's
all
gonna
be there in
bonkers.
August, and they're not going to have enough room for
God.
the people that are going to want to be there for the Hall of Fame induction of Joe Thomas. Joe, you're the
Thanks,
best.
Joe.
Thanks,
Thanks,
man.
Joe.
And no, he don't got